Most people do not realize that for years Israel had been preparing to deliver a knockout blow against the Hezbollah, which it regarded as the most dangerous and the most serious threat to Israel's security. Out of the three H's, Hezbollah, Hamas and Houthi, its priority one target was Hezbollah, because in the past, 1982-2006, they had put up a very fierce fight against Israel and had caused Israel very heavy casualties and losses. So Israel was primarily focused upon Hezbollah. There is no gainsaying the fact that the Hamas took Israel totally by surprise. In fact, Netanyahu's plan had been to exploit Hamas to somehow counterbalance the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank and play the two off one against the other. They were totally unprepared for the attack of 7th October, which took them by surprise. As such, there had been very little preparation in terms of intelligence preparation of the battlefield, drawing up target lists, penetrating the organization. All that had not been done, and therefore it has taken Israel 1 year almost to demolish or seriously degrade the Hamas. 1 year of fighting, and it's still not all over. Once they had to an extent degraded the Hamas, then, like is the normal strategic practice of Israel, they now shifted the center of gravity. Having dealt with the immediate threat, they shifted the center of gravity to Hezbollah. Hezbollah had always been their prime target. Even when Hamas had struck, their initial planning thinking was to go for Hezbollah first and make use of all their preparation and planning to give it a knockout blow. But then they had to deal with the immediate threat. That was, they had to get their hostages released, and to that extent, pressure had to be put on Hamas. But the moment they shifted from Hamas to Hezbollah in a meaningful way, like I mentioned earlier, they had been hitting the border area up to the Litani River with airstrikes. They had flattened every single multi-storied building in the border zone with Lebanon, from where they were firing anti-tank guided missiles and some unguided Katyusha rocket type systems. They had also been hitting in the border belt the missile storage sites, the rocket launching sites, etc. But the main attack against Hezbollah started on 17th of September when they did the pager strike. Now this pager strike wasn't done in a day. It had been over 2-3 years in the making. They had purchased pagers from Taiwan, opened a shell company in Hungary and sold it to the Hezbollah. And there are now statements to the effect that Nasrallah, before he died, had told his people to get off the mobiles and get on to pagers, because they felt they were being geolocated with the help of the mobiles. So they said, leave the mobiles, get on to the pagers. And when they most of them shifted to the pagers, the Israeli intelligence Mossad struck viciously. In one day, in fact over 2 days, 17th and 18th September, they firstly hit the pagers, next day they hit the walkie-talkies, and about 35 senior operatives of the Hezbollah were killed. More importantly, 3,000 were seriously wounded. They lost their eyes, they lost half their faces with that lithium-ion batteries that exploded. So this was the intelligence strike. What was even more important than this very novel means of attack in terms of intelligence operations was the fact that the Mossad had thoroughly penetrated the upper echelons of the Hezbollah. They knew the locations, precise locations of their entire top leadership, and from 19th of September onwards, they started a massive series of air attacks against the command and control targets of the Hezbollah. They hit Beirut repeatedly. They knew the precise location of Hezbollah, Hezbollah commander Nasrallah, And the moment they located him, Bibi Netanyahu was in New York, and that is the time he got a call that we have located Hassan Nasrallah, and his headquarters was hit with a deep penetration bunker bursting bomb GBU 39. These were launched by the F-35 Lightning stealth fighters. They penetrated a multi-storied building, and they hit about 80 of these bombs were used to destroy the entire neighborhood just to make sure that Nasrallah would not survive. He did not. His successor, he was also knocked down. In fact, out of the 9 top Hezbollah commanders, 7 have been eliminated by these very precise strikes. The balance of the airstrikes were now focused on the missile storage sites, the rocket launching sites of the Hezbollah, and as a result, Hezbollah was hardly able to put up a response. Hezbollah had been threatening that they would be hitting Israel with 1,500, 2,000 rockets and missiles a day. They were able to manage just 200 to 300. This shows the effectiveness of the preemptive strikes of the Israeli Air Force against the missile bases of the missile rocket launching sites of the Hezbollah. They have decapacitated the Hezbollah. They have done it in a matter of just under a month, whereas it has taken them 1 year to do it, to degrade Hamas thoroughly because of their lack of intelligence penetration, adequate intelligence penetration. Their entire effort, strategic effort, intelligence effort was focused more on the Hezbollah, and we have seen the difference in the timings and the results. Similarly, you see, Israel has been preparing for years. Israeli media from Jerusalem has been stating that they have been waiting for 20 years to hit Iran, because they know that Iran is the head of the Hydra-headed monster that has been created against Israel. Apart from the tentacles of the octopus, the 3 H's, Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, Shia militias in Syria, in Iraq, etc. But these are the tentacles. The head of the octopus, they have been stating, is Iran, and they were looking for a chance to get back at Iran, somehow hit the head of the octopus to absolutely degrade the entire ring of fire, the entire axis of resistance that Iran had cobbled together to strike at Israel, to keep Israel hemmed in, and a very effective Iranian strategy of fighting a proxy war, not getting involved itself so that it would not endanger its homeland, its economy, its nuclear facilities. So, as per media reports from Israel, Israel has been working for years to get back at Iran. They claim to have developed secret weapons. What kind of secret weapons has not really been put out in the open, but quite obviously this includes cyber warfare methodologies. They had used the Stuxnets, remember, to disable one of the uranium enrichment plants in Iran at Isfahan. And apart from these cyber facilities, they are said to have developed some missiles which cannot be detected, cannot be intercepted by Iran, to take out these facilities. And of course, their primary reliance is on air power. Don't forget that in 2022, Israel had conducted a major exercise called Chariots of Fire, in which the Israeli Air Force had flown all the way to attack dummy targets in Cyprus. I mean, the distance is more than what is the distance between Israel and Iran. They were, full-on rehearsals. So, Israel has been practicing these bomb runs so to speak. It has gone to that extent, and therefore I would not be surprised if it has a whole array of secret weapons which it will deploy against Iran in any forthcoming impending conflict, which could be just days away. So let's again take a look at what is likely therefore to happen. Why has it taken Israel 2 weeks to get back at Israel? There were initial reports that they would be attacking within hours. If not a matter of days, it would be the Israeli retaliation would commence in a matter of hours. But that's not the way it has happened. So the legitimate question is, why has it happened that way? Simple. These 2 weeks have been spent in debates and discussions between Israel and its prime supporter, the United States of America, as to which target sets would be struck. Biden has been very clear that Israel has a right to retaliate. Israel has a right to retaliate. It has been hit not once but twice, and in a very meaningful manner, by Iranian missiles come drones. So Iran will be hit, Israel will strike back. The question is how, when, and what targets will be engaged. The Americans are worried that their elections are coming on the 5th of November. They cannot afford a situation in which there is an all-out escalation to a regional war in the Middle East, which could possibly escalate even further. There are potentials for further escalation, right? So the simple fact is that Israel is been negotiating with the United States as to what is the precise target set it will be allowed to strike. The first choice of Israel was, of course, the nuclear facilities. He wanted to defang the nuclear facilities. There are technical limitations, as I had mentioned, whether they can achieve that or not. Even if they attack those facilities, they firstly cannot, because of lack of air-to-air refueling, unless the Americans step in, they don't have the air-to-air refueler to support more than 2 strike packages at a time in a day, and accompanied by, of course, some 20 F-35 stealth fighters for CAP and SEAD, suppression of enemy air defenses, etc. So with that, they can do only limited damage to 1, maximum 2 facilities, and that too, the critical facilities at Fadra and Isfahan, Natanz are deep underground. They've been tunneled into the mountains. So at best, you could sort of, with the existing weapons, bunker busting bombs that Israel has, which are the GBU 39 bombs, GBU 39 bombs, which are used to kill Hassan Nasrallah and his number 2 and number 3. Those are the bombs which can be delivered by fighters, whether F-35 fighters, F-15, there are many variants that they have, or even the F-16s. The simple fact is that these penetrators are not strong enough to go through 100 feet of rock or concrete. The only aircraft that can do that is the American B-2 stealth bomber, which will have to use the mother of all bombs, which is the GBU 79, which can penetrate almost to 100 feet, etc. So the nuclear targets for the time being are ruled out. If they are hit, as a result, Israel attacks Iran, Iran strikes back, and using that as an excuse, Israel attacks the nuclear facilities in round 2, round 3. Next preferred target set of Israel was the petrochemical facilities, especially the Kharg oil facilities, oil export facilities at Kharg, at Bandar Abbas, and to some extent at the Chabahar port, refineries, Chabahar port, etc. Now these are meant for export, which is almost 50%, $36 billion a year Iran has been earning through these oil exports. And if you want to hit Iran's economic capacity, then the obvious target is the oil fields, oil export terminals, Kharg oil terminal, Bandar Abbas terminal, Chabahar terminal, right? The problem with that is that it is an explosive target set. Iran has made it unambiguous that you hit our oil facilities, we will hit the oil facilities in Saudi Arabia, Oman, Muscat, UAE, etc. We will hit your Haifa port, we will hit your whatever refineries that Israel has, even your desalination plants, civilian infrastructure would then be free for all. And that means a serious regional escalation. So for the time being, it appears that America, the United States, has ruled this out. So what are the options that we can expect to see attacked in wave 1? In the first strike that Israel is likely to launch now in a matter of days, right? These are the political leadership. Khomeini. If they hit Khomeini, if they are able to assassinate, eliminate Khomeini, whether by intelligence operations or by airstrikes, as they had done, the GBU 39 would be adequate to take care of, to be able to eliminate Khomeini even if he is hidden in an underground bunker kind of a thing. They have shown that capability with Nasrallah and his number 2 and his number 3. So they hit Khomeini. The Ayatollah is the core of the regime, and they thereby hope to trigger a kind of a revolution, uprising of the people in Iran, many of whom 40% or so are quite upset with the regime because of its hardline policies, especially hijab, etc. for women, the chador as it is called, etc. So this regime has its share of detractors, has its share of people who oppose the Iranian regime, and if the top leadership is hit, with the help of Mossad, they could hope to trigger an uprising. So that's number 1 target set. Number 2 is Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps headquarters, military installations and facilities, including airfields, and the primary target would, in the initial waves, would be the Iranian surface-to-air missiles, and in these we have the Bavar 373 surface-to-air missile, which is a Iranian copy of the Patriot. They've tried to copy the Patriot, and this has about 300 kilometer range. Then are the Russian supplied S-300 missiles, which have a 200 kilometers range, and then of course there is the one battery, it is being said, of S-400s, which Russia has supplied to Iran for the defense of its nuclear facilities, Tehran, etc., which has about a detection range of 400 kilometers plus engagement range of almost about 360 kilometers. So this is a very formidable range of air defense resources, and especially if you add the book short range missiles, the Quadrats and the others, legacy missiles, and then of course there is the F-14 Tomcats, the F-4 Phantoms, Vietnam era aircraft, but they can do their share of damage if they are equipped with suitable air-to-air missiles. Aram equivalents. They could get these from China, they could get these from Russia, etc. They also have the some number of MiG-29s and SUs. They are hoping to buy the Su-35 from the Russians, but Russia right now has constraints of its own ongoing war in Ukraine. But Russia would dearly love to pay back the United States and NATO for their supplies of long-range weapons to Ukraine by providing these same weapons to Iran. It has been threatening to do that for quite some time. The other very critical target set that Israel may be permitted by the United States to take out are the missile production facilities. There are two main missile production facilities and these are at Madrasa and Khojir. Madrasa, missile production facility, major testing and production research center, and the Khojra is a very more widespread facility with hundreds of different buildings over a wide area, more difficult to strike. I would reckon that the Madrasa facility would be the top target of the Israelis, because in this way they would be able to degrade the missile launching capability of Iran. That is the offensive capability that Iran has. Like I said, the serious complication is the United States election. The United States doesn't want this whole area to go up in flames just before the elections, because that would redound against the Democratic candidate. Also, the Democratic candidate, Kamala Harris, is quite heavily dependent upon the American Muslim vote. You know, the Arabs, the Palestinians, etc., who've been allowed to emigrate to the United States to almost work as a captive vote bank for the Democrats. Now, we've seen the kind of chaos these people created on the American campuses. But the fact is, if they see the United States aiding and abetting an an attack on Iran, I think you are likely to lose the votes of this community altogether, on which they are banking on so heavily. The other problem is that if they do nothing to help Israel, or they just confine it to purely defensive support, now like they have provided the third air-to-air missile battery, one battery with about 100 operatives. I mean, a series of C-17s are landing in Tel Aviv to stiffen up the Israeli air defenses. So the simple fact is that Israel Iron Dome has been firing away since 7th of October. 1 year of ammunition expenditure, not only of the Iron Dome, of the David Sling, of the Arrow 2, Arrow 3 missiles. They have depleted their stocks to quite a bit, and therefore they were forced to ask the Americans for the third, one battery of the third, the Terminal High Altitude Air Defense Missile System of the Americans. This has been installed now. This is in situ. There are some reports that the Americans are sending it slowly to sort of delay the action. And once again, I would like to reiterate that there are a number of scenarios in terms of timings. One is you attack pre-election. Second, you attack immediately after the election, but before the new administration takes charge in January 2025. And the third is you attack after the new administration has taken charge. To my mind, the attack will come in the pre-election phase now, because Israel has waited long enough, 2 weeks. They also tend to lose face. Their credibility, deterrence credibility is eroded, so they have to strike back. So if they strike back, they will strike back on the military target sets, the leadership target sets, and Iran, of course, will retaliate depending on what targets have been struck in a very vicious manner with its ballistic missiles. And there are reports that it has a number of these Fatah 2 hypersonic missiles, and another version of the Fatah 2 which has some help seems to have been given by the Russians and the Chinese in developing these missiles. There is now a third and a very critical angle which I will be covering separately, but I would like to mention it here. The bulk of its oil, China's oil, comes from Iran. And if the Iranian oil facilities are hit or threatened, well, it means a serious problem for China. And China, if you observe, is ratcheting up the pressure against Taiwan. 152 Chinese fighters, the largest number employed so far in any of their intimidation exercises against Taiwan, have been used. They are again playing a blockade scenario. They have sent their naval and coast guard naval units to blockade or to to practice a blockade of China, whereas about 152 aircraft, record number of aircraft have been used. There are images of troop trains moving in China. So is China planning to exploit the American preoccupation, one with Ukraine, Russia-Ukraine, two with the Middle East, third with the American election, and now to add a fourth layer of complication? If the Chinese decide to do something in Taiwan, that would be the opening gambits, opening shots of World War III. Thank you.